basically. Actually, from southeast to northwest, because of the way that Panama is shaped. We'll be going from here, which is basically on the eastern side, to the western side, and going from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean. So that actually can be quite confusing. So just keep in mind that the Panama basically and the regional canal is sort of oriented not north-south, but basically more in the east-west direction. The length of the canal from shoreline to shoreline is about 65 miles total, but from deep water in the Pacific to deep water in the Atlantic is about 51 miles. So really the length of the canal depends on how you're defining the canal, whether you're talking about deep water or just across the land, the isthmus itself. Anywhere from 51 to, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I was looking at kilometers. From shoreline to shoreline, it's 40 miles. From deep water to deep water, it's 51 miles. So again, it really depends on how you define the length of the canal. Panama Canal is one of the two most strategic artificial waterways in the world, the other being the Suez Canal. I'll be mentioning the Suez Canal quite a bit. Suez Canal was opened in you can't see that up there, but it's 1869. 1869 was the opening of the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal goes across Egypt and it connects the Mediterranean Sea here to the Red Sea here, and the Red Sea goes to the connects to the Indian Ocean. And the Suez Canal was quite vital because it connects European ports to Asia. Instead of having to go around the southern tip of Africa, the major shortcut is going through the Suez Canal. Suez Canal, 1869. Now, the Panama Canal, a little bit about the anatomy of the Panama Canal, so that when I talk about the history, this lecture will actually be mostly concentrated on the history, but in order to understand the history a little bit, we have to understand a little bit about the anatomy of the canal, layout of the canal. Now, we'll be entering the canal over here next to Panama City. In my previous lecture, I was saying that as we exit the canal, looking to the left, you may see the lights of Panama City. And actually, I was thinking of a previous cruise in which I went through the Panama Canal in the opposite direction. So we'll be entering the canal at the Panama City end, and Panama City will be to our right. So you may see the skyscrapers of Panama City in the distance as we start through the canal, Panama City. The first set of locks that we'll encounter will be Miraflores locks, and I think that, as I recall, that's a two-stage lock. We're going up 2 steps. And then we have traveling through a short lake, just a few miles. Another set of locks, Pedro Miguel locks. And then, perhaps the most scenic part of the canal is the Culebra Cut, also known as the Culebra Cut. The original name was the Culebra Cut, which means snake in Spanish. But later on, it was renamed the Culebra Cut in honor of the engineer who was in charge of that region. Then we'll be passing by the little town of Gamboa and entering Gatun Lake. We'll be sailing for quite a distance to Gatun Lake. And then we have the final set of locks taking us down to the level of the Atlantic Ocean. That'll be a 3-stage locks going down 3 steps down to the level of the Atlantic Ocean, entering Limon Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. So that's basically the major points of interest. Going through the canal, there'll be 2 bridges that we'll be passing under that I'll be mentioning. Notice here the Inter-American Highway, also known as the Pan-American Highway, and we'll be going under a bridge that carries that highway. I think that's the Centennial Bridge. There's 2 bridges that we'll be passing underneath. So here is more detail. Of the 51 miles that we'll be going across the canal, the Isthmus of Panama, 32, so almost 2/3 will be sailing across a lake, quite a large lake, Gatun Lake. It's a man-made lake formed by the impounding of the wild Chagres River. So toward the end of our transit to the canal, we'll be going through Gatun Lake, impounded by Gatun Dam. You may be able to see Gatun Dam in the distance. So here is some of the details again of the trip through the canal. And remember, we're going in the order from Panama City up to the major town or city at the other end, at the Atlantic end of the canal, is Colon, C-O-L-O-N, the Spanish name for Columbus, Christopher Columbus. The narrow part of the canal, perhaps the most scenic, is the Gaylord Culebra Cut. Soon after we enter the canal, make the transit, we'll be going through this narrow region here. This is where the major excavation takes place. The Continental Divide, the mountains that we'll cut through, were right here in the Culebra Cut. So this is really the most difficult part of the canal and the most scenic part of the canal. And a little bit more about the anatomy of the canal. Two bridges that we'll be going across will be the Bridge of the Americas. That's a relatively new bridge that carries the Panama Canal Highway, and the Centennial Bridge that was built about, I think, about 30 years ago, going across the canal. Those are the only two bridges that span the Panama Canal. So here again is Panama City would be here. These are the Pedro Miguel and Miraflores locks, Gatun, Culebra Cut or Gaylord Cut, and then we enter, after again, the town of Gamboa, Gatun Lake, and then finally the three-stage Gatun locks down to the level of the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, and this is a cross-sectional view of the canal. This is the end at which we're going to enter, the Pacific Ocean end. We'll be going up one stage Miraflores, two-stage Miraflores locks, one stage Pedro Miguel, going across Gatun Lake, and then down to the Atlantic Ocean level by the three-stage Gatun locks. So basically we're going to be going up and over the isthmus instead of straight through, going up and over. Okay, so not through Panama, which was the original French plan to have a sea level canal, but a lock type canal using a series of locks to take the ship up. We'll be going up 85 feet in total, up 85 feet, going from the Pacific Ocean to the level of Gatun Lake, and then 85 feet down to the level of the Atlantic Ocean. Sea level of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans are basically the same. So basically it's the same sea level, Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The tidal ranges are different, but the sea level is the same. So as I said, you'll be going up 85 feet, across, and then down 85 feet. So there'll be three sets of locks to take you up 85 feet, and at that end, the Gatun locks, three sets to take you down 85 feet, about 26 feet in each lock to go up and down. Okay, here, this is, if we were starting at the other end, the Atlantic Ocean end, we go up the Gatun locks,